All right, so this is going to be a reading for Sagittarius. And for the Sagittarius that I'm reading for today, I'm seeing that you could be feeling like you're a little bit stuck in a rut emotionally, in a bit of a negative place, but we're going to help you through that with this reading today. But before I dive into it, I just want to say thank you so much for being here and for receiving this reading. If you would like a personal reading, I do offer them at my website, ajstarot.com, which is also linked down below in the description box. And if this reading resonates with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe, as that helps me out a lot. But Sagittarius, let's see what you're working with. In the overall energy, we have the Four of Cups, which is that energy of being somewhat upset, feeling kind of disgruntled. When I clarified that, I got the Ten of Swords, the Eight of Swords, the Three of Wands. So there was a painful ending here. Something painful happened. You're showing me where the energy went down. And then Eight of Swords, it makes you feel kind of trapped in the current energy. And when it comes to looking out to the future, it's hard to see things clearly because you're stuck in your head, you're feeling anxiety, and you're kind of still feeling the residue of what happened in the past. So, a difficult place to be in, but you're working through it. Um, your oracle cards today are isolation, guidance, and projections. So your spirit guides are showing up in full force here with the guidance card, wanting to remind you that they are there for you. If you've been having doubts or you've been looking for a sign, this is your sign. Your guides, your angels, they are around you, looking to support you. And many of you might be feeling kind of lonely with the isolation card, but you're never truly alone when you have the guidance of the universe around you. So try to tap into that, tap into your ancestry if you need to, but just remember that you're never really alone, even when you're feeling isolated. And Spirit's also trying to give you guidance here because you may not be seeing things clearly with projections. You may be overwhelmed emotionally and also mentally. So, really in your head and then really scattered on the emotional level. And that could lead you to not see things as they truly are, but for your emotions to kind of rise up and create these projections. I just got the image of the story of Plato's cave, where he tells the story of the person who is facing the cave wall, and the light that comes into the cave wall makes a projection on the cave wall, and the person watches it in wonder, and the light dancing on the wall, and the whole time they're thinking, this is amazing, this is life. But they never actually turn around and see the sun and step out of the cave. I meant to say cave, but I guess I said cage. But they never step out of the cave because they're always watching these projections on the wall. And so there's something here where you might not be seeing things clearly and you're so stuck in one perception of how things are that you're not seeing the whole picture, and you're not stepping outside of your head. And so Spirit wants to take you a little bit outside of yourself so that you can see the bigger picture and become more embodied and kind of engage with the world around you. So that's what this reading is kind of going to be about. Now, in the recent past, we had the Seven of Cups, the Justice card, and the Nine of Pentacles. So I see you really confused and in your feelings there with the Seven of Cups, wondering, did I do the right thing to step out on my own? Because the Nine of Pentacles is about being independent and standing on your own. In the present energy, we have the Magician, the Five of Pentacles, and the Nine of Swords. So this is you really struggling and really being in this energy of difficulty and kind of mental hardship in the current energy, but it manifests from that feeling of inner sort of confusion. And then in the near future, we have the Page of Cups, the Three of Pentacles, and the Nine of Cups. So I do see you getting back on track here slowly but surely. You start to kind of rebuild your own emotional world and your own emotional center. So overall looks good, but you are kind of emerging from a hard place here with that Four of Cups and the overall energy. Let's take a look at the recent past and let's see what all is going on inside of you with that Seven of Cups. For the Seven of Cups, we have the Knight of Cups, the King of Wands, and the King of Swords. It's looking like you could be kind of reading into someone else's actions and words and wondering, when are they really going to open up to me? When are they going to be vulnerable? And for some of you, maybe in the past, you did have a connection with them, you had a conversation, there was some exchange there, and it was kind of confusing, and I see you being kind of stuck on it with the Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck, maybe replaying things over in your head, really wondering what actually happened there, you know, and it's kept you kind of confused because you're always kind of trying to understand what happens or what goes on with this other person. Let's take a look at the Justice card. The Queen of Wands, the Fool, the High Priestess. At some point, I see that you tried to kind of free yourself of that. You stepped into this energy of, you know what, I don't need that anymore, but in a positive way where you're like, oh, let me just kind of let myself rest and be free of kind of that baggage of that other person. And Spirit's saying with the Justice card, that was the right move. That was what you were kind of meant to do in this situation, was to free yourself spiritually from kind of concerns with this other energy in your life. And so then you're showing me, I ended up being kind of singular. Some of you literally could be single if that's a romantic relationship. Others of you, you're just kind of saying, I struck out on my own. Let's take a look at that Nine of Pentacles. The World, the Four of Pentacles, the Three of Cups. You're showing me that you're done kind of holding on to certain connections, or at least you're trying to close out that chapter. Some of you still could be holding on to this idea of like a reunion where, even though it feels like the situation is closed, it is done, in every typical sense of the word, there could be a part of you that's still holding on to the idea of like, what will this be in the future? Others of you, that doesn't apply, and you have really kind of moved on from that idea. You're closing out any semblance of, you know, if you thought you were going to come together with this person, you're starting to think, okay, you know, I don't think that's going to happen, and you're moving forward on your own is sort of what you're showing me. So all looks good. You know, you're kind of showing me the background. I was confused about this person. I was wrapped up in them. Then I freed myself. I did what I had to do, and now I'm standing on my own. All sounds good and jolly, but then current energy, it looks like this has caused some hardship in your life, or at least within your emotional world. You're showing me, yes, I did all of that, but it hasn't quite been easy. If anything, it's been far from that. Let's take a look at the Magician. The Six of Swords, the High Priestess, the Seven of Cups. You're showing me this sort of spiritual connection that you have with the universe. And you're saying, you know, I receive a lot of spiritual insights. I'm very tapped into myself spiritually. And one of those insights was that I needed to move on from this situation. So I did. But then you're showing me Seven of Cups. Now what? You know, I did that. And you could be starting to kind of doubt yourself in a way. Like, did I really do the right thing? You know, you're showing me a little bit of overwhelm. And there's a need to kind of like return to your center here. But things are looking pretty difficult. We have the Five of Pentacles. Let's take a look at that. The Eight of Swords, the Five of Pentacles, the Tower. You're kind of showing me I didn't know it would be this difficult. I didn't know it would be this hard. I didn't know that it was going to shake everything up. And it's uncomfortable. There's a part of you that's like, this really sucks. It's very hard. And then also there's a fear of, what if things get worse? What if, you know, like, shit hits the fan and then I can't clean it up or something like that. And so there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of anxiety that's present for you right now. Let's take a look at the Nine of Swords. We have the Five of Cups, the Seven of Wands, the Three of Wands. You're so stressed out and you're having such a hard time that it's hard to even envision the future, much less hope for the future. And you're like very upset to the point where you could be kind of stuck in the past. It's almost like you had a slump, and instead of kind of going through that slump and getting out of it, you kind of just stayed in there. And so it's hard for you to have hope. It's hard for you to envision a future for yourself. And when you try to, you're met with all types of, confusions and worst case scenarios and, being hard on yourself and all of these things. Now, in the near future, with the Page of Cups, I do see something in there that comes in that kind of sparks up your heart again. And it's something small, but it's also something significant. We have the Ace of Cups. So your heart shows up to the party. We have the Wheel of Fortune, and we have the Two of Swords. So something shows up that brings your heart back online. And I'm seeing that for many of you, you're not going to see this coming, or you don't know about it yet, but it is just around the corner. And it's something that kind of challenges you to get out of your head and into your heart. And it's like a bolt of lightning in a way. It's like this hits you and you're like, boom, your heart is back. Anything else about that from Spirit? Seven of Pentacles, Four of Cups, Temperance. It's like you start to kind of work with your uncomfortable feelings and your unhappiness, and you start to see it for what it is. And there's just a feeling of acceptance with the Temperance card of, you know what, I am upset, and that's okay. And it's pretty powerful, this feeling of acceptance, and it allows you to kind of open up your heart to yourself and holds for yourself what you are feeling. Now let's take a look at the Three of Pentacles, the Ten of Swords, the King of Wands, and the Emperor. You're showing me that you're starting to understand what happened in the past in a new way, in a way that gives you some sense of control or some sense of confidence, where you start to reclaim the narrative of what happened, and you start to understand it better as well. And not only do you understand the other person involved, but you understand what it is that hurt you and that, it needed to end. And it's almost like you're able to kind of make peace with what happened in a new way, even though you've been processing it for some time. For some of you, the number 3 is significant, and also 4. So it could be 3 or 4 years for some of you. But don't take it if it doesn't resonate. And then let's look at the 9 of Cups. For the 9 of Cups, you have the Two of Swords, the Two of Pentacles, the 7 of Swords, and the Queen of Cups. There's going to be times when you feel your heart and you feel good, and then there's other times where you're going to kind of lose it again, and it's almost like a cat chasing like a laser pointer. Sometimes they're right on the ball and they're catching that laser, and then other times they kind of lose it and then they find it again. And that's kind of you with your heart, is like it's going to be a bit of a bumpy road. Where sometimes you're going to feel really aligned, you're going to feel like yourself, and then other times you're going to get up in your head and you're not going to feel like yourself as much. But there's something here about being patient with yourself with the Hanged Man at the bottom of the deck, and understanding that healing from something painful like this, it's not a linear process. It's a process that kind of goes up and down. And some of you, I'm just feeling the need to remind you to really commit to letting go. Just really do whatever you need to kind of let go, and not return to whatever it is that hurt you, because only you are really in control of the choices that you make. So make wise choices. let's get 3 cards of advice from the universe. We have the King of Swords, the Chariot, and the Knight of Cups. You're on your way. You're on your way, and you know you're on your way to your heart opening back up. So that's what I have for you, Sagittarius. I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and I'll see you next time.